Running a Fever episode 68. We're going to talk about inspiration today. Of course, we're going to talk about diet, we're going to talk about recovery foods, and much, much more. My name is Michael Davis. I've lost 70 pounds, 8 inches off my waist, lowered my blood pressure, increased my energy, all at the age of 52. And been keeping that weight off because it's now been 6 weeks since the last weigh-in at the end of March, and kept the weight off. I'm actually, if you eliminate the whole 60-hour cutting diet that I went on, basically a fast, then I have actually lost 4 pounds. So I'm almost down to a legit 70 pounds, not 70 pounds dehydrated and starved. Anyway, we learned from our mistakes, and I think you probably saw that. And I talked specifically about it around episode 36, but you know, the main thing is don't get into one of those contests. Don't do that kind of thing. Don't treat yourself like a contest. Find something healthy to motivate you. And it's about 6:25. Nobody in the parking lot, but there's also already been several people on the trail. I'm walking on what has become my usual spot now, starting at the Botanical Gardens. And heading out for what should be a 4-mile journey this morning. Pretty clear skies. It's been like that all weekend. Now, speaking of external motivation, this weekend I've taken a few days off from working out because last week I was still sore several days after my last strength workout. Really had low energy during the walk on the day before, which is the last episode you've probably heard. Good morning. And so I think it was a good choice to take off a few days. These days I feel the energy wanting to get out, and I have extra energy when I don't work out. So it's not as easy as it seems. It's not like, take a day off and just kick back. You can't, it's not easy to kick back anymore because my body's used to doing this every day. But I've got to get back into something more moderate, more sustainable. And I consistently have this problem. Anyway, so I took a few days off, but part of that I was with my parents. It's Mother's Day this weekend, and I'd seen them a couple of months ago, but I hadn't been down there where they live, and so there are a lot of people who hadn't seen me since I was 70 pounds heavier. And of course you get the compliments, which are nice, and you also get, well, how did you do it? Which I've gotten at work too over the time period, and So, and I explained that to people, and I was trying to explain to my mom. And she asked, what do you think would be a good diet for me? And I'll just go ahead and say, at this point, I don't feel confident to recommend much of a diet. I can tell you what I did. I know that I had to develop a diet that was personal to me, and I can't imagine, there are just tons of people who like yogurt, sardines, and tacos, and chili. I mean, maybe there are, I don't know. But that's just the combination of foods that's kind of kept me going, because I like those foods and I'm able to fit them into a diet that has enough protein and a good amount of calories. And I'm still developing it because that's not all I need. I need to worry about some other things too, nutrients, and I'm working on that. So that was kind of my answer to her question, but I was just thinking that I didn't really give the answer that people need to hear. Because, I mean, a lot of times at work I'll just say, well, you don't want to hear the answer, is diet and exercise, which is true. But it wasn't that really. What's gotten me to this point where I have not only lost weight, but I've gotten off the weight loss train and been able to walk along those same metaphorical tracks. And I was able to stick to it over what's now been, well, I really think it started with the exercise in November. So that's now been 6 months. And it's really just having something external to myself that was important enough to me to make it necessary. And, there have been a couple of things. The contest was one not very good thing because the goal of it was ill-conceived. And unfortunately, I wouldn't say the way they did it was endorsed by prevalent medical professionals, but it's the goal of weight loss, which is just incorrect. In my opinion, it's got to be more than that. It's not that simple. But that goal is not a healthy one, because it's just too easy to say, all I care about is losing weight. Doesn't matter if it's fat, muscle, bone tissue, brain matter, just lose weight. If I have to cut off a leg, I'll do that. Morning. So what did I do first? I chose to start a podcast about running when I was in, pretty bad shape. Maybe not as bad as I've ever been, but pretty close. So now I'm going to do a podcast about running. Well, I gotta do something. I can't just sit back and it's got to be something, So I decided to go and actually do it and make this about a journey to good health and an active life, good life. So the contest and the podcast, and now I have at work, I'm having this biometrics check-in for people. That motivates me, not just because I want my numbers to look good, because it's not really as much about that as it is as the contest was. You're not sending out a notice saying, well, you've lost X% every week. It's more about every week I get to sit down and talk to people about how my health is, how their health is, what they're doing. People come into the room to get their weight and blood pressure and everything. And what have you been doing? Well, changed my medication, or I'm on the whatever, the keto diet or the paleo diet, whatever it is. Which, by the way, I was talking about caveman stuff, and I'm thinking, wow, I could write a whole book. There's a ton of books about it already. So, not surprising. Fitness is a good business for information, because everybody wants to know and nobody wants to go. That's my couplet for the day. That's it. I mean, how do you do that? Once you know, how do you go? It's got to be some kind of inspiration. It's not like for years I haven't known that low carb, high protein works, lower calorie intake, higher calorie output works. I mean, these are, I guess, just diet and exercise. How hard is that? It's the simplest concept you can imagine almost. Unless it was just diet. You can really get by with that. So that's the real secret that I should be telling people. Yeah, it's the usual diet and exercise, but, and I can go into detail about my own diet, and I can explain these concepts that I've learned, like, it can't be a no diet, it's gotta be a yes diet. Do what you can do. Speaking of that, there's a couple things that I've been talking about. One is changing exercise routine. So back to the fitness department. Changing a routine is good because I have to make changes in my body. I have to disrupt the normal flow of things. It's not just changing the routine that helps, but the next level is disrupting the routine. Continuing the action, but disrupting the routine of the action. So I've talked about cycling, which would cost me however much it costs to get a bicycle. And of course, if you know me by now, you know that I'd have to probably spend 6 months researching it, at which time, several models would have gone out of existence. Several would have come back in. Which I probably will do at some point. But right now, don't really want to do that. But there are other options, and when I joined this gym, they said, oh, okay, well, you get used to the gym. You don't get used to the pool, but you get used to the gym. And they handed me a sheet. And on that sheet are, from 2 to 10 classes a day. On Saturday or Sunday, I think there's only 2. Actually, they're closed on Sunday. Saturday, there's only 2, I think. So I think I'm going to do that. And I think I may start with one that's weekly, called Guts and Glutes, which I think is glutes, obviously, and abs focused workout, which would be good for me, because I need some work in those areas. And it's the kind of thing I think makes a difference in appearance, which kind of helps me psychologically. I've already noticed a difference from various strength training as I've done. It doesn't really take long. You just have to be careful, because you're going to gain muscle. But don't get discouraged by that, or if you don't lose weight as much. The same thing applies. It's not going to make me it's not going to give me the 6-pack abs. I have to get my body fat way down for that to happen. But, at least the muscles will be there and they'll be strong. There's so much value in having strong core muscles. Just about anything that I've pain and back deformities to other problems. It's just having a strong core is hugely important. So I think that'll help, and I'm gonna ask somebody about it today or tomorrow. Took the day off, by the way. That's why I'm able to get out here in the morning, and not 0 dark 30 department, but 0630 department. And normally I'd be at work. by 6:30. I modify that because, for example, the class that I'm thinking of taking is, I think, at 6:30 on Saturday or Fridays. I think it may be, I'm not sure exactly, but it's in the morning at a time which would probably prevent me from getting to work at my usual time. So I may have to make an adjustment there. And maybe overall, because I've heard that exercising in the morning is better, helps you burn calories more throughout the day, keeps your metabolism up, allows you to use that fasting time overnight to your advantage because you have no carbohydrates in your system. If you haven't, eaten breakfast, and you get to burn them off quickly and then burn some fat. And unfortunately, some muscle as well, which is why I need to get into the diet department of the show. I'm going to need to find a good food or supplement for recovery in order to prevent me from losing muscle to get to do it. Because when you're after the workout during downtime, that's the time to rebuild muscle. Just like a bone that when you break it gets stronger from the repair, so do your muscles, and that's the whole point of strength training. Overloading your muscles, breaking them down and rebuilding them so they don't break next time. I mean, that would be the origin of it. If I had a fight with a tiger as a caveman and I won the fight because I stayed alive, but I was severely damaged from it, or maybe we both came away damaged from it, I need to rebuild myself stronger so I can win the fight next time and be ready for another fight. And those are the ones who survived that natural selection process, those who could rebuild, and that's what got us to where we are today. So, I've already read some things and listened to a podcast. And by the way, I just want to say, podcast that I recommended on one of the recent episodes and his videos do contain some profanity, which I am in general opposed to and offended by. I can only take so much of that before I just turn them off. Normally, I would turn it off immediately, but in this case, I was kind of pulled in by some of the information. There's plenty of information out there, though, so I don't feel like it was just one that I found. Anyway, through these sources of information, I'm finding out things like casein, of course, protein, amino acids. These are the things you need to recover and build muscle in the process. Now, there are foods that have these things in them. See, that's what you get in the morning. You get to hear the rooster crowing. Heard two of those already. It's not like I'm out in the country either. It's just roosters around here. And I'm not thinking of any of those foods right now, really. Now, of course, there's a lot of talk about whey protein, and that's probably the most popular bodybuilding supplement out there. Of course, they have these things. You don't have to go to a nutrition store to get these anymore, or order them online even. You can go to a grocery store. At my grocery store, have a whole aisle. Well, I mean, it's like half an aisle. It's one of those short aisles, and on one side, but still, tens of different products and lots of those big plastic bins of powder. It's very popular. One of the things let's stick to the recovery thing first, where I go off on the rails into other diet aspects in the diet department. So I think this might help with what I was experiencing last week Of course, it might be probably a case of overtraining as well, just doing too much. If you do too much for too long a period of time, you're gonna, burn out because you just don't have the stuff it takes to keep going. And your body is going to need more time to recover. Probably more than just a day or two. But normally what they recommend is 48 hours in between the exercise breaking down of a particular muscle group. So the walking, running, I hope to substitute for something like the class that I'm thinking about taking, or cycling. So I maybe run or walk once or twice a week. And then I do a couple of times in the gym, upper body, lower body. And then I think it'll be pretty balanced and I won't have as much trouble with breaking down and overtraining and that sort of thing. So, but all this is it's just like breaking the routine of eating pizza and watching movies, which I did last night, by the way. But I'm trying to get that out of my routine, or at least, out of my routine and into like an occasional thing. So I'm thinking about protein bars because they're convenient. What I've been using is yogurt, which I'm just getting so much yogurt, it's ridiculous. 3 or 4 times a day. I haven't had breakfast this morning, but I had yogurt for a pre-workout meal. It's high protein, low calories, got good stuff in it. For now, it's all I know, but I think I should quickly get some protein bars and then maybe I can go into the whey thing. Went up on the spillway. Get the protein bars because that would be a little more convenient. Try to keep it the same calorie / protein levels as my yogurt, which is 7 grams of protein and 80 calories. That's the light yogurt, of course. Now, jerky is also on my list, and I haven't been doing the jerky very much lately. It's not that filling because for the same calories as 6 ounces of yogurt, you get I'm needing to do some math here.
Warning. Live math.
3.8.
Warning. Live math.
Yeah, I think I have to go all the way to the... Yeah, got to go all the way to the half-mile point. Messes me up every time. A little pain in my back right now. I didn't take the Advil. And again, I'm hoping that whatever remedy we come up with the doctor in my back, this medical report, short medical report, and strengthening my core will all help my back pain. So yeah, jerky, it's an ounce and you get the same protein, maybe even a little more protein, same calories, 80 calories, but you only get an ounce, so it's not as filling as yogurt is. And I don't know, yogurt kind of tastes better. I guess I just like sweeter things in between meals. I don't know. So I should probably work some jerky in there as well. Took a picture of a beautiful sunrise on the lake here as I'm walking across the dam. And I came across 4 girls who, have come out and they're sitting and facing this beautiful sunset. And every single one of them is just head down staring at their phones. Some people just don't get it. So that's what I'm looking for. The whey thing, even though I guess mixing stuff up is convenient if you're I don't like if I'm work, I won't be at work. This will be something I'll probably take in the evening or before or after workout. those are when it's recommended, because as I've said before, when you're before you go to bed, apparently you need to prepare for rebuilding throughout the night, which you can't do if you have nothing. If you hadn't eaten since 6 o'clock, and by midnight you're going to be out of fuel and you'll just be burning muscle. You won't burn a lot, but you won't be rebuilding is the point. To be honest, I just have to say this. That comment I made about the girls, I just saw them walking away, and it did occur to me that they may have come out in this beautiful environment to pray together or something like that. Because, it'd be the same as me coming out with a meditation book or something, or a prayer just on a piece of paper, and they were just looking at their phones for that, just when I walked by. So, gotta come clean on that. I don't really know exactly what they were doing, but could have gone either way. That was a squirrel about 10 feet away from me. Maybe the closest I've come to a squirrel in this area. I went to Washington, D.C. when I was younger. It was when Jimmy Carter was president. And my grandmother took me there, and one of her friends and her granddaughter, and we all went and saw the sights in Washington, D.C. And we went to a park there. I don't know which park it was, but we went to a park, and the squirrels would come right up to you. I guess they were so used to people feeding them that they weren't afraid of people hardly at all. And I got a picture of one. I just had a pretty simple camera, I think. I wasn't zooming in or anything. And just face right in the camera, you can see that fills the whole picture. I don't know if I still have that picture. But technically that's the closest I've ever come to a squirrel. So there's my squirrel story for the day. Squirrel story number 1, squirrel department. Rodent department, small mammals. I'm not sure what category a squirrel fits into. Do some more research on that. There's another one. They're really coming out now, I think. They were still around in the wintertime, but just kind of hidden. Diet department. So we talked about what to go, when to know. Squirrels, we had a pretty good squirrel report. Talked about recovery diet, inspiration of other people through relation of our fitness stories. And it's been a pretty good day. So keep the fever, and I will talk to you next time.
This is the Padua Podcast Network. PaduaMedia.com.